thank you guys all for joining us today. The topic of the webinar is virtual sales, just step by step here today. So, Paul, Brett, I've got you on here. If you want to take the lead here, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, tell us a little about your experience, and go from there.
Well, absolutely. I'll just start saying I'm nowhere near as cool as Brett, but I'll do my best to try to appear to be cool. But he is Mr. Charisma. So I've been very fortunate to have a great career in the remodeling industry. I've been involved since the age of 12 years old. I was canvassing for it at the time, the largest home improvement company in the world, which was Amory. That later on in my career, I went to work for Pacesetters, then on to Statewide, and there's my good friend Nate that's joined us. So I've been able to not only work in home and go through the generation of in-home selling since '83 on in today, but I've worked for every major manufacturer from Reynolds Aluminum, Owens Corning, Dalcoa, Apply Gem, and been with Royal Building Products for over 12 years. So I've seen changes in the industry. And as I was speaking to you earlier, about 4.5, 5 years ago, I had this vision of where I could see the industry going by watching the patterns that was being, kind of transcended into by Amazon, where they were trying to find a way to sell directly to the consumer and cut out distribution, and then seeing some things that Windows on the Web and other companies were doing. I felt that was the way. And I started to follow down this path of disruptive technology. And a gentleman named Tim Mush kind of heard my elevator pitch that I was giving anybody who would listen. He said, "There's a guy out there as crazy as you are who kind of has that vision. I think he's already doing it." And that's when I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Dale Thornberry, and then also get the opportunity to work on with Brett. And then I took my enthusiasm and excitement, and the first person I corrupted who listened to me was Nate, and now he's become my champion for doing things where virtual selling has never been done in our industry. So that's my 30-second elevator pitch to get us started.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks for joining us here today. And Brett, if you mind introducing yourself here a little bit for everybody, that'd be awesome.
Sure. My name's Brett Foster, and I've been in marketing, I don't know, probably for 30 years or so. Been in production management. I make goofy commercials. Just ask Paul. And I actually do. I'm marketing director for Tractor Zone, which is kind of an affiliated company, but we do different stuff. And so I believe that one of the best ways to reach people is through comedy. If you can make somebody smile or laugh, you've got their attention. It doesn't matter what you're selling, a product, a service, whatever it is. If you can make me smile, I'm going to go, what comes next? So I kind of like to try to bring that brand, whatever it is we're trying to present to people. And I mean, a lot of it is just getting to know your audience, because I don't know anything about contracting. I'll be honest with you. I mean, what I've learned through contracting is through Dale. And Dale and I've been friends for over 30 years, and I've watched him progress through this this development of one-click contractor, which was incredible. Going all the way back to GeoEstimator and how to actually get measurements from a satellite. I mean, there was a time when people would be like, well, "You're doing what?" "No, I've got a tape measure here. This is how we do things." No, wait a minute. So I've watched the genesis of this happen, and it's been amazing, and it's fun to be involved in the marketing side of it, because I kind of know our audience, because they're old guys like me, and we like things simple, right? And our name, One Click Contractor, pretty much says it all. We just want to click on a few things and it's done, right? Finished. So basically, that's kind of what I do. I try to simplify things for people, and just try to get to know the audience, try to find a common thread with the group that we're presenting material to, get them interested in that, and then at the end of the day, try to get qualified leads to our salespeople and people, like Paul, who can then go in and say, "Hey, you're all jazzed up. and you know what's going on, and let's get this done. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us here, Brett, here today. And Nate, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Nate Teicher, owner at Window Depot, Milwaukee. I've been in this industry since I was 17. I've cold knocked doors. I've cold called, telemarketed. I've ran a call center. I was a marketing director, trained as a salesperson, turned $1 million sales rep, and then they let me go, and I started my own company 10 years ago. It's been going great, but no, I love what I do. I love helping people. I like saving them from the bad contractors so they don't mess up their house. And this whole concept of virtual selling has excelled my business to something I never thought possible. And here I sit today. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I'm running my company in Milwaukee from my video room in a spare bedroom. So,
yeah, well, that's what I love, Nate, that you're on the phone call here with us, is that obviously we've talked a lot about virtual sales in other webinar series that we've done here in conjunction with One Click Contractor, but Nate, obviously you're doing it every day. So it would be a great perspective to have from you
for a long time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I onboarded with One Click Contractor, and it was about, I think it was June of 2019, roughly, maybe even like February, because you and I were in Florida in 2019, and then I picked your brain for 4 hours on my way home. Like, what are you talking about? This is the craziest thing I'd ever heard of. But luckily for myself, I trusted Bones. I saw the platform. I saw the vision. I jumped on it. I was building it behind the scenes, getting my pricing right, getting familiar. And when COVID hit and everyone else freaked out, I'm like, oh, crap, now I have to train everyone on what I do. So it's kind of a different spin, we could say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, kind of diving in here, we're just going to rattle off. So I've got questions just to kind of keep it, brief here for everybody. We got 3 people on here. I'll kind of rattle off a couple of questions for you each and kind of get your takes on some of these things. I've got a bunch of questions. We probably got like 7 webinars worth of questions, but my goal of all these webinars is let's have some brief takeaways for people on the call today here as well. So again, thank you guys all for joining me here today. It's a true pleasure. So let's start off. Like, Nate, I would love to pick your brain on just why did you go virtual sales? Obviously, it's nicer to sit in Tampa, Florida. I live in the Midwest too, so it's nice to sit in Tampa, Florida than it is to sit in the Midwest during the winter months. But why did you decide to go virtual and in the first place? What's the benefit in going virtual versus just doing the traditional in-home?
It's a good question. I struggled for years. How can I myself be in front of more of our customers? I'm one guy. I can only be in so many homes at so many times, and drive time and logistics and traffic. It's impossible. One person can only get in front of so many people. And I think that was the first thing that he mentioned of, Nate, you've been talking about it for years. This is how. And literally it allows me to portal in and be in. You can run a virtual only appointment and do it on a computer, or we find a lot of success with hybrid models. You send a person to the home who doesn't know anything. I give them a computer, and then you connect me online, and we're good to go. They get the best of both worlds. So,
yeah. So you're still answering all the main questions for them.
Well, it allows the presentation and the step selling to be followed without having to worry if a new guy is going to miss a step and blow a sale. The product expert is the one giving the presentation. It's kind of hard for me to mess it up, if that makes sense. So it's a win-win for the company. It's a training experience at the same time. And our numbers are better than they were when we went just in person straight. So,
yeah, let's talk about that. Just practical numbers here overall, like demo rates, closing rates, virtual versus in-home sales. Like, what?
You get a little more, from what I've seen, you get a little more no homes on a webinar, maybe a little more no connects. So your demo rate's a little lower. In person, we're at about 80. On a computer, we're at about 70. So if that kind of gives you an idea, but it's all about the experience and the setup. If you prep the homeowners right and they know what they're getting into and what to do, chances are your connection is going to be a lot higher, which is as bad or as good as them answering the door when you drive to their house. So,
well, for sure. Well, and it makes me curious of maybe the demo rate, and I've heard that from other companies doing virtual too, is that they have to be online at that time versus you showing up to their home. So
Correct.
even if they forgot and you still showed up, they go, well, yeah, come on in. But is there a higher set rate with going virtual than the in-home? And I'm curious.
You mean like more people want the appointment versus not, or?
Yeah. Are you getting more appointments?
Well, when COVID started, absolutely. Everyone was like, "Oh, thank you, please don't kill me." Right? Do that. Sorry, turn my notifications on. Recently, we found that as the world's getting back to normal, people aren't as wanting to the virtual as possible. So though we offer it, it's not as desirable as it used to be. But I'd say right now, out of 10 people that come in, half are going virtual and the other half are demanding a person in their home with samples. So, but it's still there. I mean, there's people who, if you're running lead sources that, like let's say a home advisor or a modernize, and there's a lot of quotes, people get 1 or 2 or 3 quotes and they get shut down. They're burnt out. They're sick of salespeople sitting in their house for 4 hours and they're done. Those people are beautiful for us. There's no threat. I mean, if you're not happy, hit the button. I'm out of your house in 2 seconds. So, and vice versa. If you're not the right customer and I'm done wasting my time, boop, see you later. Gotta go, so offer some different options.
Well, and how many quotes can you do a day with virtual? What are you averaging right now with one sales rep doing virtual versus the in-home sales rep running the traditional 3 appointments a day?
Well, I'd say your in-home person can run 2, maybe 3 a day max with drive time and a good presentation. We're not just measuring and giving them a quote in 10 minutes. We're giving them an education and asking for their business. So, it really does vary in that regard. I guess they're very similar.
Yep, absolutely. So I think the big question, hopefully, was asking just what kind of you see as a close rate to be able to sell 100% virtually versus without ever having someone to show up in the home? What's the percentages that you're seeing there?
Well,
and Paul, I'm curious, kind of your perspective on that too. What do you see kind of on the broader market as well?
Okay, Nate, you want to handle that? Or you want me to jump into it?
You can jump in, and then if you want to, you were breaking up, so if you can rehash the question, please.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Paul, if you want to answer the question, just really what the closing percentage is, 100% virtually without having to have anybody in the home. And I think it'd be great for there's people on the call here that are selling solar, that are selling windows, that are selling bats, that are selling roofing. So any experience in either one of those trades here, that is roofing easier to sell 100% virtually than it is windows when they need to kind of touch and feel the product or the different features or benefits? Is it easier to present your product versus another? So that's kind of the gist of that question.
So I first want to back up and address something that Nate kind of hit on. It's very important. Whenever I was launching, as I was speaking to you earlier, Sean, the whole concept of virtual selling, and Brett remembers the phase, I was signing companies every single week. And this was 6 months, 8 months before there was even a thought of the word COVID, right? Because people were excited about something new, something different. What happened when COVID happened, and it forced people into doing something that they didn't want to do, they weren't prepared to do, they didn't know how to do, it had a different response. So anytime you force someone to be different than what they want to be, then you're going to get a different response. But when we turned around and now we're moving into a position where they're doing it, sorry, I'm having some renovations done on my house today, if you're hearing that in the background. But now people are doing it because they see the value in what it brings. So I have a lot of customers, a lot of different people I've worked with, like Nate, right, who present. And before we forget, we're way ahead of ourselves. We should probably talk about how you have to become good at even learning how to be virtual, right? There's so many steps. There's so much psychology. And to get on the topic quick and be able to hold attention, how to prepare, how to use the right cameras, how to have the right backdrop, how to make sure you got the right internet speed. These were all things that you have to master before you can even get to this part. So assuming that you've already figured all that out and now you're at this level, I think it fits different needs for different people. During the time of COVID at Rural Building Products, we patented a concept called driveway selling, and actually trademarked it to where the person can pull out in the driveway, put the tables out on the porch, take the pictures, convert to measurements, go do a whole quote and a takeoff, and use the UV wands to clean everything, but never even have to physically go in the home. So as we transcended into other times, now people are actually selling in the home, and they may go in and do the first call virtually and then the second live, or I've toyed with the idea, and we created virtual boxes of samples, because that's the first thing you hear. Gosh, I can't see it, right? So we sent a virtual box that had the samples and pieces to them. And then the last model that people have adopted has become the Vanna White model that I call, where we actually, and I know Nate adopted this when I pitched it to him, where you actually take somebody in the home, they set the demo up, they get it all ready, get the window out, the siding out, they shoot the pictures to Nate, he's already got the measurements, and he comes on and actually makes the presentation. Or you've got the guy who's using it for scenarios. Let's say he's storm chasing. Let's say he's trying to go and run all these leads and for damage from hail or whatever it may be. He can have the customer take pictures, send it to him, measure, and give him a quote and an estimate, send it over to the insurance company, run 12 to 14 a day, to where he may just run 1 or 2. Where now you got the capability, to Nate's point, to be in Tampa and have multiple offices, to be able to work multiple places at once. And when I present this to a lot of young salespeople, they say, "You're trying to put me out of a job." No, I'm trying to put more money in your pocket, because now you can make more calls, you can see more people, you can connect with more people.
You can ride with more of your reps.
Right.
Yep.
So bottom line is this: as the way people buy changes, the way people sell has to change.
Yeah, well, I think that's the core of this. Is we've had other webinars along this topic, is that I think people want and desire this virtual environment, or the first question we often get when we're calling a new lead is like, well, I just want to know how much it costs. And if you can give that to them in multiple different formats that meet them where they're at, just like as you mentioned, Nate, that if 50% of homeowners are saying, no, let's try this virtual thing, that means 50% of your customers, would those 50% of people say, sure, yeah, you can come out to my house and still have you out to their home? They definitely could. But is that, by you just even saying that you do virtual, is that setting yourself up for a much better success in meeting them where they would like to purchase in the first place? I
mean, you're giving them options. It's like, hey, we're not your typical company. We can do it this way, we can do it that way. What's better for you? And if they say, I'm more comfortable you being on a computer, great. Here, take the photos for me, download this app. We've got a system, follow it. And by the time we connect, they're as happy as can be. And then they talk about how much they like us versus the other companies. Yep. And the product, it didn't even matter at that point. They're just happy that they've got someone that they're comfortable with.
Well, and I think half of this, half of the home improvement industry is just differentiating yourself from everyone else that's out there. And the way you do that is by just being different. And I think asking and saying, we do this virtual system, you go take these pictures here, I'm going to send you a text link. We have a process that builds so much credibility and trust that they, at the end of the day, the product, that they see from anyone else in the house, that might even not matter as much as that we know you're confident that you have a process that the job's going to be done right.
I sold a job last week with a guy. It was a siding job. We sold it for $57,000. We were their 5th quote. I didn't even ask how much the other ones were because it didn't matter. Yeah. And she bought the system and the process and the company, and she commented, I'm buying from you because you're showing me stuff no one else did. And yet I'm the only one on a computer. How funny is that? Right?
Yeah.
And Sean, something else to take in consideration, not only is this effective for exterior, but there's a lot of success for interior, for measuring kitchen cabinets, for bath fitters, even for hot water heaters. I know a lot of the big boxes have adopted this approach. I know Lowe's has really adopted this concept. So anything that can be measured and converted, from picture, to measurement to price, to a quote, to a DocuSign. So the capability of this technology is not limited to the outside.
Yep.
I mean, to the inside as well. And I think once people realize the capability of this tool, it's overcoming that fear. Like, I remember early conversations, I refer to Nate because Nate's here and he was the first one that I've got on board, and now there's hundreds, but Nate's like, how do we get started? Where do we begin? What do we, and the way you begin is you work through it, you figure it out. He created his own system within the system that works. Now, I don't expect him to share his system because the reason he's successful because it's his system, but there is some unique approaches and ways to become very good at this. But as time evolves, more people, I think the big change, Sean, you're going to see with more people working from home now, that they've got accustomed to being on video, got accustomed to dealing with people like that every day. Now it's becoming more common for them to do this way. Like, I was mentioning to you earlier, for years, I've knocked thousands of doors. I've been in front of people's homes and sold, but now this is normal for me. Like, I'm like, what's going to be the next big thing? Because this is normal. Selling remotely and virtually and closing, and they say you can't transfer emotion. I say you're wrong. I mean, that's where you got to add in videos. That's where you got to add in ways to connect. And as I showed you earlier, I have my own virtual business card. Nate's not even seen this. So I have my own virtual business card, and if I hold it up to the screen, you can actually scan it with your phone, and then you'll have my microsite in your home, and you'll see my testimonials. You'll see all my information. You'll see my website. You'll see my gallery pictures. You'll have my LinkedIn. You'll have my Facebook. So Nate's going to get out and take a picture of that. But if people want to do that, you'll have my complete microsite. And once you get that, if you will tap connect, it will send all your information over to me, and I'll be able to connect with you. So that's the way you can develop credibility in the home.
Yep.
So it's all about being different, finding a new way to connect with the market.
Absolutely. Well, I think the interesting thing I think we've talked about here is that, I think with virtual sales, the more we have conversations about it, obviously when COVID happened, everyone was freaking out going, like, how am I going to present you product in the home on a virtual sales environment? That's the biggest question we get consistently is like, well, sure, I can give my company story. I can do that kind of stuff. I can, fumble through building some rapport and some needs analysis. But like, how do I present my product to build the value in my price and to do that? And then how do I close when you can't virtually send them a piece of paper, across the table, to do that and ask for the sale? That's a different process to kind of learn and adapt to and figure those things out. But I think that the interesting thing I think that you're even doing, Nate, is that it's not an all-in thing one way or another. It can be a both and. You can still send somebody into the home and present virtually. You can still send somebody in the house to go take all the measurements so that you can look at those pictures together over a virtual phone call. And what one click, does is being able to like present them you can go through the estimate, go through all that kind of stuff and have it prepared prior to that meeting and do virtual signatures right there. But it's not an all in one direction. It's kind of like you need to adapt both, and it can be a hybrid.
Well, I think it's about speed. Speed is the name of the game. It's efficient, it's quick. Sales rep walks out the door. Before it's like, oh, great, now I got to hire 3 weeks of office training, and then maybe he'll run a lead. Versus I had a sales rep quit 2 weeks ago. One of my installers wanted an opportunity. I said, all right, you're off the ladder. Here's the computer. And he's right now absolutely just killing it because he had me and my manager and my other sales reps Vanna White him for so many times. How many times you need to hear it before you get the damn idea and you just do your job, and it's really turned into something cool. So,
well, and I'm curious, how the other aspect that I'm hearing from other companies doing remote is that you're able to go cover such a large geographic footprint. So, when it comes to lead generation, I mean, we're generating, thousands of leads a day, but there's only so many in at the major metro, but as you go, further and further out from that major metro, there's tons of additional homeowners there. And it's underserved markets by these in-home sales companies because they just, I got to send somebody out there 3 hours your direction. It just doesn't make financial sense, to do so. That if you can do it and start the initial conversation virtually, how has that impacted, Paul, as well? Like what have you seen from other companies being able to expand their geographic footprint just from a quantity of new customers, there too?
Right. So it's very unique. I mean, a lot of people there's not as a lot of people doing what Nate did, like basically switching, states and selling back, but it allows people to expand into other counties or other parts of the state that they're in. And it's really, he hit on something very, very unique. Speed to the lead, right, is the key. And I think you're going to see a change in the time that you can sell people, because the time of selling in the home today is not as safe as it was in the 80s and 90s when I started. So maybe you get somebody that gets home 10, 11 o'clock at night and they don't have the capability, or you're not going to send a sales guy. Nate would go from 11 to 2 a.m. in the morning and sell. But normal people wouldn't do that. But now you got the capability of reaching people. But it gives the storm industry, it gives the solar industry, it gives all these different industries the capability of reaching out. And you talked about something very unique. So at Westlake Royal Building Products, I have the ability, I work with other companies in this segment, right? But the advantage of what One-Click does, it has the capability of bringing everything together in one tool. There's where you get the name One-Click. So all our company brochures are integrated into the tool. You can import measurements from Hover. You can use measurements they do themselves, all the contracts, every single aspect, and the live view, that's unique to One-Click, is the ability to be in live communication with the customer. And when you have what we call the Vanna White guy there, he can actually go and do what I call the house to sick, write prescription to make it better, sick home syndrome. He will physically go and take pictures, use moisture management meters. He'll do all these things, tests for termites, mold, mildew, whatever. And he sends this information back into Nate. And Nate now can address your home with the same sincerity as if he was actually there.
Yep.
So it does work remotely. Where I see this going is really a tie-in utilizing a remote closer. Because as a sales guy, one thing because I know, using Nate as the example, Nate's probably listened to a sales guy 100 times and say, this is what I said. And he said, if I'd heard that objection, I could have said this and I could have saved the sale. Well, now being a remote closer, he can save that sale. He can duplicate himself. He can have 5 guys in Milwaukee, 5 guys in Tampa. Tomorrow could be 5 guys in Fort Lauderdale. And he can literally bounce from situation, train other people, and manage those presentations and accept and expose and close.
It's kind of like in that scenario, it's the best rehash any good sales manager would want to have. And as my sales reps go, I make it a requirement. If you cannot sell that customer, you are required to call me or our manager. We're going to hop on the webinar. We're going to thank them for their time. We're going to go through your order to make sure you didn't miss anything. And if I can find a way, you're damn right, I'm doing it right there. And we're just getting them done. So we're showing our reps what they missed. We're teaching them how to get better. And, we're not losing any money in the meantime. So I forgot a little part. When I started the One-Click Contractor is when I decided to open up my Madison location. And I would have never been able to do it without it. So right now, Madison and Milwaukee are 2 hours apart. We cover 2 hours north, like a big parameter around Madison. Out there, it's virtual only. We do not offer in-person appointments. It's too far. Sorry, we're not right for you. And we just move on to the next one, if that's the case. So, it's got differences.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, it just kind of gives you more flexibility to go out, and to add additional area if you can service it and grow. I think so. When I think, Paul, you kind of hit on some of that here too. Is just bringing and talk about hybrid selling. You can still have somebody in there, but then your best closer could be sitting there running 5 appointments a day versus only spending all of his drive time. He could be actually spending time with a homeowner and actually closing that sale.
Like when COVID first started, I was one of the first ones because I was fully trained. And remember one day, it was in 2020, I put up, I think it was 9 sales in one day. I ran 12 appointments. My marketing manager did a MapQuest. He was like, "Are you kidding me? You'd have had to drive 1,800 miles to pull this off." And I just sat at home, speed to the lead, in a competitive situation. They sign up on my website. If they're virtual, they called me, sent in the photos, we'll see you in an hour. They're sold before the other guys even called them to set up their appointment.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Well,
see you later.
That was a question a couple people had, is just how many, kind of going back to that, how many appointments can a virtual salesperson do a day? So obviously the in-person is 3 a day, 2 to 3 days, pretty consistent.
2 to 3 in person, I'd say if you're doing virtual only, probably easy 3 to 5 a day with connections. And then if you're vanning and the guy's measuring, uploading photos, preparing everything for you, that knocks off about an hour of our job. Yep. So as I was talking to Adam the other day, it's like, if we have Vannas doing this, I can handle 8 of these a day. All I'm doing is a presentation, a price, and a close. It's like easy peasy. I don't even think, I just do.
Yeah. And think about that from like a systemized process, that if you were able to, like, sales preps, if you had the everything measured already for you, you even had the price and the quote ready to go, and all you're doing, your sales rep, the only job your sales rep is doing, period, is having to give a presentation on what they found. Like, that is the most efficient use of time. That's like sales reps' dream right there. And you need fewer sales reps and more like
here's the undream, and it takes a culture change. When you do a virtual and I'm hiring a Vanna, you're splitting your commission with that guy.
Yeah.
He's doing more than half the legwork. Who are you fucking kidding? He drove there. He measured it. He took the photos. All you got to do is a 45-minute demo. He actually did more work than you, but considering that, I'll split a deal that way all day and never leave my house again. Why?
Oh, for sure. But realistically, that person, you could pay that person a really good base salary to go around and do all those things, getting
some nice programs, company hourly rate, company car. Here's your gas card. We got your insurance. Here, just take the samples. Here's how you measure. Tell them you can't sell them. You don't know how, so the customers love it. And there's all kinds of good synergy, that goes along with it.
Kind of diving in here to just kind of on the step selling side of things. Obviously, all the one call close side of things is, that's the name of the game within replacement contracting. So you kind of briefly touched on that, of like bringing you in or bringing a closer in or a manager in virtually in the home. How do you see your one call close rates change virtually versus in home, or what's
ironically they went up. They went up. I was expecting, when I started, cut the whole team loose. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll lose 5-10% something.
Yeah.
Opposite. Whoop. Sales reps liked it. Customers liked it. It's non-threatening. It's very easy that way. So I myself, I was a 60% closer in the home. Online, not to toot my horn, it's 83%. That's my number. I sell better on the computer than I do in the person. Now, that's not the same for everybody. Each rep's different. Some guys found it to be better. Some guys found it to be a wash. Some of my guys did worse. So now they're not allowed to have virtual. You got to go to the house because you do better there. I can't, work on those numbers. So it's kind of really, finding that comfort zone, for people. So we offer it all, I guess.
Absolutely. And obviously when it comes to one call close and diving into that stuff, presenting the price and getting them, I think objections in the home when it comes to presenting a price, virtually, it's easier to delete or to remove themselves from a meeting versus being able to, like, I'm in the home and kind of keeping out of the house. So how have you seen that, to be able to, like, from a practical side of things, how do you keep the energy within the actual virtual sales environment to kind of go and keep the conversation going and truly get the objections that are true objections? That it's different when it's like, well, I got to go, and I'm just gonna end the
well. So there are a lot of steps that you do to that, but I want to address something that has really changed the reason why people are selling themselves. The keyword selling themselves on a one call close now, because in the past year, what's happened, we've had 45 to 55% increases in building materials. We've experienced issues in allocation, which means you can't get the product. There's shortages. So where in the old days, guys like me and Nate would go in and have to create a sense of an urgency, the demand that you need to buy now, what's changed, Sean, is the consumer is creating the sense of urgency for themselves. Because if they don't buy today, the price is going to go up. If they don't buy today, they're not going to be able to get it. They've sold themselves before they even do the virtual meeting. They've already psychologically committed to buy before they even talk to Nate. So that's why the one close process is working better now virtually, because the dynamics, the selling process have changed. I mean, I truly believe that. And, you know, the key is to be successful in virtual selling. And Nate and I kind of went through this journey together, right? I had the vision about a year and a half before, but he was the first guy that listened to me. So we talked about techniques and practices together, and we grew and learned together. But the key is you have to psychologically, mentally prepare to be successful for a virtual call. You know, you got to go in early. You got to check the camera. You got to make sure that the internet signal is strong. You got to make sure the lighting is right. You got to make sure what is your background. You got to control your background in the back with the backdrop. You don't want a window where people are looking behind you, seeing what's going on out your window. You have to mentally juice yourself up. It takes a lot of psychological preparation to even go to start the call. Then you need to send an agenda to the customer. You know, here's the things we're going to talk about today. I see them smiling, you know, just to give them an idea. And then you got to start with, you know, a story. You got to grab them early. You got to use pictures. You got to use all the different aspects of humor, the things to kind of connect that customer. You have to do demos. I mean, there's videos you can show them on how termites are damaging their walls. There's videos that you can show them how black mold, you know, can hurt their animals. I mean, there's so many different other elements, but you have to have a structured concept, and you can't be talking the whole time. You got to, just like selling, you've got to structure, ask the questions. If the customer's not talking, you're not getting information to solve the problem. So there's so much psychology that goes into this process. And, you know, we not even talked about, could you use this for virtual canvassing? Can you use this for virtual referrals? You know, and then also virtual testimonials. You can record the customer who's happy. Are you doing that and sharing those testimonials? So this is opening Pandora's box to where this industry is going, but it absolutely can still be created as a one-call close, because otherwise, if you're doing this today, more and more companies are going to start becoming into the virtual world. So today, they're not getting 5 virtual estimates. They maybe get 1 virtual and the rest people live. But one day they will get that. So how can you make yourself stand out virtually the same way you would in the home? That's the challenge you got to figure out the answer to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Nate. I got excited. Sorry, buddy.
It's okay. I was just going to comment, you know, when you're running a virtual meeting, you shouldn't have home renovations going on with all the background sounds, right? We're having fun, just picking on you. Love it. But no, it's preparation. And you're right, grabbing their attention. So from the visual effects to the demos, to the videos, to the slides, to the pricing program, to the sheet. Yeah, it's an absolute, if something's off, it's as if you didn't show up to the door. So you got to be spot on. And, you know, thankfully I've been blessed to start early, and we've done a lot of things wrong to figure out a lot of things right, if that kind of makes sense. So,
well, and I think step selling and all that stuff, just like you prepare for an in-home sales presentation, you have to walk through all those steps. You have to take all those current steps and adapt them to a virtual environment. And I think some people are asking questions about how do you fill out contracts and how you do kind of finance paperwork done, and, you know, using all that kind of stuff. Like, I think the one like contractor, if you know the steps that are all in there, it is pretty simple. But Nate, I'm kind of curious, that was a specific question of just like, how do you present the contract and financing specifically when you need to get them approved for financing on that phone call? How do you
Well,
get that virtual information?
I would challenge any company in that scenario to, however they present price in the home, just find a way to make it digital. And that way it's not a new thing. So whatever form they're using, whatever they're used to doing, you just do that online and you roll with it. So I don't know if that gives you an answer to that question, but I mean, whatever they're doing in the home, they can do online. You just have to figure out how to present that digitally. And it's about the same thing. So
how do you get them approved for financing? Are you sending them a text message link that you kind of sit there virtually waiting for them to fill out?
No, we just do an application, an app right on the screen share. All right, you want to do the financing? Pick your payment. Boop. All right, first name, social. Boop, right there. Done. Signed, sealed, delivered, and we're all peaches and cream. So.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, because anything you can help them. You're
integrated into the tool. It's Sean. So the thing is, look at a lot of these questions with the financing integrated into the tool. Whatever financing company you use, you integrate it into the tool. So all the measurements that you do turn to a pre-programmed pricing measurements by foot and everything. So the pictures turn to measurements, which turns to a proposal, which turns to a contract, which turns to an agreement, which turns to DocuSign, which turns to financing. And all this is a one step-by-step process that the tool takes you through. And that's why OneClick has the name OneClick, because you literally have everything together. Now, you could have FaceTime, you could have DocuSign, but having everything together, being able to talk to the customer, being able to take those pictures to measurement, that's what makes this tool different from, there is nothing else in the industry that can do what OneClick does. Now, people don't understand the history. Dale Thornberry, the gentleman who created this tool, he created EagleView. And he went on to create a lot of the patents that were used for hover. Like, he is the godfather of virtualization. Like, what he's done for this industry has single-handedly changed the world. And every day he's growing in that change. So, I mean, there's nothing better than growing and using a tool that's changing, based on what's changing in the market.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the question, Patricia, you had a question about also about kind of measurement. So OneClick obviously has its internal measurement tool from pictures, but also Hover, I believe, is a full integration. EagleView is a full integration, all that as well. And I believe there's some internal tools, now, Paul, that are done for virtual internal measurements out there too. I don't know if you can speak in any of those that companies are using or starting to use for internal measurements there too.
Sean.
Oh, lost you. I think you're muted there.
You're muted, Paul.
Sorry, my bad. I want to address this question. This is a great question. The question was, how often are you able to close virtual without having to enter the customer's home? I think it depends a lot on the product too. For example, if they've got a leaking roof, right, and it's something that needs to be repaired, that needs to be repaired, you can do the measurements. You can do everything 100% virtual. Believe it or not, decking was one of the first tools, first products that was actually very successful with this tool, because people know they need a deck. They know they need to replace. They typically know if they want PVC, they want wood. And so they're able to measure. They're able to go ahead and convert and sell the complete decking job and not even physically have to be in the home. So I think it depends on the products. I know Lowe's uses this a lot to sell hot water heaters. I know a lot of companies use this tool to sell kitchen cabinets. I mean, anything you can measure, even backfitting situations, if you can take measurements and take a picture and be able to convert picture to measurement, you can absolutely sell and not have anybody in the home. It just depends upon the product. Now, with siding, it's a more integral product because there's a lot of different factors. You have to understand things about the home, and having an inspection gives you the capability to do things more successfully that way. But these are really, really great questions. And I think the biggest fear that people have is, where do you start? How do you start? And like Nike said, listen, There's no better solution than just do it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have to start somewhere. But I promise you, I mean, being a leader in this industry of disruptive technology and watching how all these other companies are coming into play. I mean, we were talking non-related. There's a new technology I was talking to Sean about earlier called Real Voice that now gives you the technology that will listen to your salespeople's presentations. And when they're done, give you a complete analogy of what they said, how they said it, what the objections were, how they handled them, what they should have said, what they should have did different, and they'll have a complete analysis at the end of the presentation. So there's so many more tools that are being tied into the virtual selling process with Engage presentation tools. I mean, having the presentation tool capabilities, this whole industry is focusing in on virtual selling. And whether you get in today, you get in tomorrow, you get in 5 or 6 years when everybody's doing it, is your choice. But it gives you the capabilities to be different, to be fast, to be first, and have the opportunity to reach that customer.
Well, and I think, and just going, so Chuck was asking about that. How do you transition away from boots on the ground sales? And I think that the answer to that question from both of you, just to summarize, was just that you don't have to. You don't have to completely get away from boots on the ground. You give people options to see where the market's at, where the homeowners are at, and what they need. But that having virtual sales can make it more efficient as you grow and allow you to handle more presentations with fewer people on your team as well. There's a lot of benefits, obviously, in that side of things. The one question specifically, if for interior remodeling measurements, there's a couple new tools on the market that I know about, but I'm curious, have you, from an interior side of things, measuring virtually via picture, what tools have you seen out there that are helpful on that side of things to do a bath insert, to even give quotes on kitchen remodels virtually?
Well, I mean, right in the one-click contractor portal, there's a measurement tool. So as long as you set a scale, you can measure any photo. So whether it be kitchen cabinets, roofing, siding, windows, bathrooms, whatever, doesn't matter. You can figure it out. Or don't forget, most of your customers have a tape measure. So have them take a picture and tell them what to do. And next thing you know, your customer's doing your job for you and you're just getting all the numbers you need. So, I mean, we sell bathrooms, we sell doors, windows, siding. Doesn't matter. I mean, I could probably sell bubblegum online if I felt like it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I love what you said, Nate, just a little bit, that OneClick has the ability to have the customer send them a text link, right? And they can take pictures and they submit them right to you, which I think is a huge component of it's the whole reciprocation. I'm happy to give you a price. Please give me some pictures in return. It makes them actually buy into you that they've already done some work on your behalf. That's part of the
we lose some people during the transition. They agree to the virtual and they figure out how much work they have to do. And then they call and complain, wait, why am I doing all this work for you? Can't you just come over? It's like, yeah, it's fine. We'll send some guy. But hey, if the customer is going to take all their time, take their photos, take their measurements, get that involved, I want to see those people all day long.
Yep. That person's obviously very interested. Sure. And I think personally, if I'm super busy and can't meet because I have a weird schedule and I'm willing to just take some pictures of my windows or my roof or whatever it is, just to send it on over so I don't have to meet with anybody and spend 2 hours, I'll do it all day long.
You'll still spend 2 hours just on the computer.
Right. And there's a lot of other unique things, Sean, I was telling you about that's being tested. Just visualize that. What if you're at a home show and you have the capability that someone can come by and actually scan a QR code to set an appointment or hit a button and talk to you live? What happens to capabilities that one day you could even work home shows with virtual closing, with communicating through a kiosk? So this technology, these concepts are not going away. Yep. And it really just comes down to embracing them, and by trying and testing and going through the process that Nate went through is the reason he was successful, that he had the confidence to be able to move and leave Milwaukee and be in Tampa. And now he's the first company in Tampa that's a virtual sales company in Tampa, right? So now other people will see that, other people will adopt that, but I can't I can't reiterate enough that if you don't embrace technology today, you will die. There will come a time your business will suffer. Now, you will always be able to do X, but if you want to do Y and Z, you have to embrace it. And there's nobody who can help you bridge that journey better than One-Click Contractor. I mean, they're the masters of it. I mean,
you know,
there's no other way. I mean, there honestly is.
To tag onto that, you know, after I've paid for it and I've used it, I mean, you see it. You could get Keynote, this, that. You could do all these other little documents, put everything together, and just be a goofball and it's disorganized mess. And some of our competitors who have tried virtual selling, who didn't use One-Click, I've earned people's business just pure based on the fact that we're organized and we're professional. And the last guy gave me a quote on a text message, and the other guy was trying to FaceTime me. And I'm like, really? How about a presentation? How about some agreements? How about some, you know, synergies? So it's just kind of to toot that horn. Yeah,
absolutely.
I wouldn't keep buying it if it wasn't beneficial, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, I think keeping the professionalism of having just one clarity from one step to the next and being able to show a process period is a differentiator in the industry. So, Nate, I'm curious to kind of wrap things up, guys. Is one tool, let's say, besides One-Click Contractor, we all know that's the route you should go to kind of look and learn, because they've got it all defined of how to do one in virtual, and it's also adapted to in-person selling too. So it's not just virtual only as far as a tool to be able to get this stuff done. But one tool that you see in the industry that companies you find is super valuable that they should kind of look into besides One-Click. So Nate, if you want to start.
Yeah, I'd say One-Click Contractor, if that answers your question. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, you can look at Leap. Leap is a nice application for in-person reps, but you can't use the browser. So I think they shot themselves in the foot by not offering, you know, that. So really, there is no other better option. It's the best. If you want it, you should pay for it. And if not, you know, eat our dust. We're on our way. You know, we're having a good time. So,
well, and to support what he says and all, there are companies out there. Paradigm is great because, you know, they may have catalogs and stuff preloaded, and that's great. But that doesn't give you the capability to communicate with the customer. Like virtually doesn't give you, you know, the capability to take pictures and measure. So again, if you're looking for a one-step process, this is the only one-step process to do remote virtual selling. Now, a lot of people may disagree and say it's not going to happen. Of course, they don't want it to happen because they don't want to change. I get it. But those who see the vision and those who believe will absolutely succeed using this tool. I mean, again, I've been a pioneer. I told you, Sean, I've made my first website in 2001. I created one of the first ever video testimonials 2 weeks after YouTube came out. So I've always found a way to be a pioneer. And that's why now I'm testing with this artificial intelligence, you know, with Voice, or, you know, using my digital business card. Those who would like to scan this, please do so. You'll have my information. Hit connect, and then you'll be able to reach me directly. Just have my digital business card. I mean, you could have this tool yourself, but it's all about technology and change. So I'm a firm believer in this. This was the first one I latched on to. You can do business with whoever you like, but the man who created this concept, the man who is the godfather of virtualization and, you know, virtual estimating and all those tools, is Dale Thornberry. So it's kind of hard to not follow the guy that created it all. So I'm excited. I believed in it from day one. I'll never forget, I presented this to Nate. We were in Tampa, Florida, and then he drove all the way back to Milwaukee in his truck, and he called me and he said, now, I don't understand why you will actually do this. We spent 4 hours. He got on the phone with Dale. The next day he committed, and he's not looked back. And now he's sitting in Tampa while people are cold in Milwaukee today.
Yep.
So the proof is in Florida. We'll just stay there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys both for spending time with me today. And obviously, Paul, we got your business card here. We'll send a link to that and your contact information. Nate, if you mind, people reaching out to you, how can they get in contact with you if they have questions?
Sure. I mean, if they wanted to reach me directly, I mean, we see the backdrop. So we're Window Depot, Milwaukee. You can contact Paul. He could reach out to you. I am very busy, so I'm not really open to a bunch of free phone calls, if that's fair. But I guess, politely, at about $100 a minute, if anybody wants some real guidance and some advice, call me. We could set up a contract online, go figure, and we can make it work.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys both again for your time here. This is fantastic. Thank you guys all.
Call me. I don't do nothing else. I'm always available. Call me 24 hours a day. I'm always going to answer the phone.
You got to call him, but call me with a credit card, right? We're having fun. All right, guys.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for your time. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Great pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.